Host More Yelvington of Morph Transform Your Reality, where I help women step out of trauma and reclaim their power. I'm so happy to have you here for this open conversation about moms, sex, motherhood, children, relationships, marriage, and everything in between. So grab your drink of choice and let's dive in. I'm so honored that you're here with us today, and I have the gorgeous Carla here with me. Hey.
Hello, well, thank you for having me back. I'm really excited to be here because we've had a few chats recently, so it's good to reconnect again.
I am so excited that you're here because every time you share amazing tips and insight, and I think it really helps us as women tune into our body and feel pleasure, which I think is one of the biggest gifts that we have being in a human body, right? Experiencing pleasure. And so I'm really excited for this topic today because I feel like it's going to shed some light on things that maybe we normally don't talk about. And I'm going to kind of give you the space, but maybe you should introduce yourself and tell us what you do for those of us that don't know. And we'll go from there.
Okay, so I'm a sex, love, and relationship coach, and I support men and women who feel unsatisfied in the bedroom, who maybe don't enjoy sex anymore, feel disconnected from the sexuality, and basically help them to feel more turned on, more pleasure, more joy, and feel really confident and sexy in the bedroom. And then when it comes to the relationship aspect, so I support men, women, and couples as well who feel disconnected, lonely in their relationship, and unheard to come back to emotional and physical intimacy. Yeah, and it's really, I can't remember how we ended up getting onto the conversation, but when we were chatting a couple of weeks ago, I don't know how I mentioned it, but it was like, yeah, and like one of my most popular read articles on my website was, and do you want to introduce it more? Or shall I?
Well, we're going to talk about anal sex today, which I'm really excited for because among my mom friends, it's been a pretty controversial topic. And when something is controversial, I like to talk about it and make it uncontroversial. That word is kind of stuck, but yeah.
Can I ask you actually more when you say like controversial? I'm really curious to know like what is it that your friends are saying around anal play?
Okay, so I actually have girlfriends that are a lot on the spectrum, right? So I have the girlfriends that have done it and love it, swear by it, thinks it's the most amazing thing, and convince you that it's one of the best orgasms you can have. And then I have some mom friends that have tried it here or there. It wasn't the best experience. It was kind of awkward. It didn't really flow. And so they haven't tried again because it was just not a great experience. Um, and then my own personal experience is we've tried a few times, but it was just like, maybe okay. I don't know. But I think the controversy about it would be all the mind blocks that we have about it, right? And so I think that's the main thing that prevents people from maybe doing it is what I think, what I tune into anyways. But I'm sure you know way more than I do.
So, like, yeah, it's definitely one of those taboo things. I think there are very few women that feel confident enough to admit one that they receive anal play, and it doesn't necessarily need to mean like penetration with a cock. It could just be like penetration with a finger or being rimmed, and rimmed is like being licked around the bum hole. A lot of women don't admit that they do it, and then to admit that you like it feels even more like out there, and I think a lot of that comes from the fact that, and you a lot of your podcast will be talking about this, the conditioning that we have around women's sexuality, and the fact that women don't have that freedom to be sexual beings, even though we absolutely are. And so much research shows that when you remove all of the conditioning religious factors, women's desire and libido, so desire for sex and libido, is as high as a man's. Once you take all of that into account, women do want sex and do love it. But we're just, we don't have that freedom to be able to say that we do. And then there are certain, sexual acts which are even more, taboo or can't be talked about, or, you may feel judgment for. I came on to talk about one of them, which was giving oral sex to a man, so blowjobs. And then, I like to go with a controversial taboo topic. So, and another one is anal play. And, the thing that we have to sort of like remember and bear in mind is there are a whole load of nerves around the anus. And I don't want to just talk about either like women receiving anal play. It's important to be aware that a man can receive multiple orgasms from being stimulated in the prostate. And for those of you that don't know, the prostate is in the anus of a man. It's like his G-spot, basically. And so it's like a knuckle or two in feels a little bit like a walnut, the same as a G-spot. And, when a man is really warmed up, sexually aroused, if he has had, lots of opportunity for anal play and anal exploration, that is a really great way for him to get off. And like I said, he can experience multiple orgasms because of the nerve that passes through the prostate. It's the one that doesn't initiate the ejaculatory reflex. So that's why men can have more than one orgasm from the prostate. And it's easier to do that than it is maybe from having, penile stimulation. It is possible for men to have multiple orgasms as well from penile stimulation, but, it's something that requires a little bit of, in inverted commas, training beforehand. But then moving back to, women and anal play, and as you said yourself, a lot of women find that it's not always successful, or it can be uncomfortable and painful. And sometimes that can be because of, the approach isn't necessarily supportive. And then secondly, it can be because we have so much shame around anal play that what that means is, our bodies feel, when we experience shame, it's not just something that happens in our heads, our whole bodies are feeling that. And so, as a way to protect you, your body is going to tense and tighten, and it is going to feel that. And then what happens is when you're feeling tight, penetration becomes a lot more difficult. So exploring your relationship to anal play and being really, really mindful that, when you close your eyes and you bring awareness to your anus and you think of somebody penetrating it, what do you notice? What sensations do you experience in the rest of your body? Can you put a word or description to those sensations, how they feel, and connecting to that and just understanding what it is around anal play that you feel really, really uncomfortable with. And then, once you have addressed the sort of like psychosomatic, let's say, elements of that, how are you preparing for it? Just like shoving something quite big in there immediately without any warm-up isn't going to be pleasant for anyone. And, the person receiving penetration, it's always good if they're the person in control and in charge of how deep, how soon, and when. So, taking things really, really slowly. So, ensuring that your partner, whether male or female, is aroused and really turned on will help relax the pelvic floor where the anus is. Ensuring also, that once they're aroused, that, like gentle stimulation, first of all, outside the anus, so that you're gradually preparing the body. Then, something small like a finger just gently inserted, giving your partner plenty of time to adjust. And just initially, just doing those sorts of practices and those sorts of interactions, exploring just the initial part of anal play, so that the body over time relaxes. So the first few times that you initiate yourself into that experience, not taking things immediately, penis into anus like first time, but having a few times, just feeling into it, noticing what feels comfortable and what doesn't, breathing, relaxing into it. And it's really important to be aware of, the vagina is self-lubricating. So when there is arousal, the vagina can and does self-lubricate. Some women don't experience it as much as others. And obviously when hormonal changes as you get older, it's that some women can be affected by that. The anus, though, doesn't have any lubrication at all. So it's really important to choose a really good specific anal lube as well, just because the pH for the vagina is a different pH to the anus. So choosing one that's more suitable for the anus. The vagina is a lot more acidic. So making sure that the pH is a little bit higher for the anus. And then also, a lot of lubes can be for the vagina a lot more watery and thinner. So you want something that's going to last a lot longer when it comes to anal play. So a water-based lube, if you're using condoms, that is specifically made for anal sex. If you know the STI status of your partner and you're really comfortable with their STI status and you want to without condoms, then oils can be used. And making sure that, the area is well lubricated, making sure that whatever is going in is really well lubricated as well. Something that I want to bear in mind, people to bear in mind and be aware of, like, because of the way that the anus is, it's really important to make sure that whatever is going in has some way of stopping it from going all the way in. Because if you put something in your anus, it actually, like, in a way sucks it up. So you don't want to be sticking any random like vegetables in there that might get pulled in. Just to let you know. Like that's why butt plugs, for example, your face more. Yeah. So yeah, that's why if you're putting like if you take a look at a butt plug, at the end of the butt plug there's almost like this rim that prevents it from going in any further and like stops it. So, choosing the right sort of toys as you're playing. Some people get really like grossed out, because, oh my God, I might be dirty that down there. So, if you want to make sure that you're not in your head worrying about that and you want to relax, have a wash. And if you want to do like a bulb enema, to give yourself a more thorough clean. So I saw you tilt your head. Do you know what a bulb enema is? Yeah.
I don't actually. I can probably imagine it. You can explain it for people that don't know.
Yeah. So a bulb enema is like, it looks a little bit like a light bulb, I would say, with a point on it. And basically you fill it with water, warm water, not hot, but warm, just to help, with any grease. And then you basically squeeze water. So you put the enema into your anus and then you squeeze the water in there, and it just helps clean like the end, like the rectum, which is the final part of your like of your whole bowel, let's say. Because you don't need to do a full enema where you're like cleaning out the whole large intestine. It's just like, to feel more comfortable that any bits of poo might come out, that you're just cleaning, the end part where there's going to be contact. So you can, do something like that. Or if you're comfortable or confident or not too worried about, a little bit of mess, then just cleaning, the outside. Being mindful as well. Another point to be aware of is that, anything that goes near the anus, be mindful then where else it goes, so don't be sticking a finger in the anus and then in the vagina, because then you can cause infections. And also, just be mindful where that finger goes afterwards, if you're touching your own face or your partner's face or, anywhere else, just, being mindful of where it's going, and giving it a good wash as well before it goes anywhere that, you don't want poop to be going, basically, because even if you don't see pieces of poo on your finger, there might still be like a little bit of the expression on your face. There will still be bacteria. Is there anything that you want to share more?
I'm just taking it all in, and I'm taking mental notes, so that I just understood why it's a butt plug and not, why it has a plug, so it doesn't just like get sucked into your body. Which I had this vision of like, oh my gosh, like what happens if that happens to somebody? How do they get it out? And then
Hospital.
I know that's not something you would probably want to deal with. I mean, I don't think. So this is the situation. Um, I digress. Um, I lost my train.
Do you want me to continue with the next steps?
Sure. I'm actually just curious. Like when people come to
Yeah.
you, is it more women coming to you or men coming to you? Like, is this, when people come for help with their sexual life, and to explore more, is it coming from the men or from the women mostly?
It's the thing is, it's not that it's like more men or women, because when what you've got to also be aware of, men ask for help less than women do.
Right. That's true.
So just that's just generally. So, if you think about like depression or anxiety or just general, if you look at mental health or getting help, that anything along those lines, men tend to get less help, like professionally, than women do anyway. So, and then, and that's a lot to do with the conditioning. Men receive conditioning that it's not safe for them to ask for help, that asking for help makes them weak. And they're very much conditioned to be like these strong, stoic men. And, that can leave a lot of men feeling isolated and, lonely and not being able to receive help or support. So for that reason, I get more women. But the men that I do get that show up are like really committed to making a difference, like take full responsibility. They go away, they do the practices that I give them. They're really committed to making a difference, because if they generally, what happens is a lot of men that come to me are at such a state where their life is sort of like on the balance with whatever problem that they've got, that they're in so much emotional pain, or generally emotional pain, and they don't really know where to turn next, that they come to me. Women, I find, will come before they get to that stage. I mean, I do get women at that stage as well, but women tend to look for help a little bit sooner. So that's why I find that the men that come to me are really focused and really, committed to sorting out the problem that they're coming with, and achieving their goals. So yeah, but thank you for that question, because it's something that it's important to recognize. Yeah.
I was curious also if you're working with couples, if anal sex, does it come more from the men or from the women, or it's equal?
So when it comes to couples, anal play hasn't really come up that I can think of. But then when I'm working with individuals, I would say that it's interesting, because of the work that I do, even if they're not clients, people will share with me things about what they want and what they like or don't like so much more willingly that they've never even told their own friends. So I experience a lot of people showing up and telling me very, very private things that they probably wouldn't tell even their partner sometimes. So it's really difficult, because these sorts of questions are difficult to ask, because obviously they're coming to somebody who's, very open-minded around sex, and they know that they're not, unlikely to feel any judgment. So I do get women who admit to want to trying it, feel a bit of shame. Some women who absolutely love it. I've had somebody who, because they suffered from vaginismus, which is like tightening of the vagina, found that anal play was more accessible to her. So yeah, and I think for men, a lot of it can be around the fact that it's a bit naughty. So I think it's both for men and women. It is naughty, and the women that really allow themselves to enjoy it do so because they are in tune with their own inner slut. Like, they, rather than fearing this part of them that's slutty, they've like fully embraced her. And like, I love that part of myself. So, and because it's considered slutty to enjoy anal sex, then that's something that I really want to embrace. So yeah, when it comes to the difference between men and women, I would say that my experience with the people that I've worked with is it's the same, because that potentially is because obviously people are more willing to open up to me than maybe they would do amongst themselves as friends.
So would you consider anal sex more on like the kinky side then?
Um, yeah, because kink is, things that are taboo, and it is considered taboo, by our society standards, Anglo-Saxon, Western standards. In other cultures, it potentially isn't kinky or taboo, but yeah, definitely, I would say it's on that spectrum here in our society. Not people admit to having sex. People will admit maybe to oral sex in a relationship that's long term. They might not admit to that in a casual sense. People don't always admit to things like BDSM. That is quite a private thing. A lot of people don't feel comfortable being able to say that because, again, it's kinky. And anal sex also comes a little bit under the kinky banner. So, and things that are kinky are taboo, and that's why a lot of people won't readily talk about it.
That's what we're talking about it.
Exactly that, yeah.
And also so we can open the door. I mean, I guess it's the back door, right? We're opening the back door for you guys to experience new things that might cause a lot of pleasure for you. Hopefully, it will cause a lot of pleasure. So another thing I want to ask, and this might be, but I know that after a lot of women after childbirth, they have hemorrhoids, right? So how does that play when it comes to this anal play? Like, how does that work? Does it prevent it? Should they not attempt to do something like that? What are we talking about?
I would say that the best thing to do is speak to your doctor, because everybody's hemorrhoids are going to be different. Everybody's body is going to be different. So, yeah, that would definitely be something to say. Ask a doctor. And in fact, there is on Instagram a butt doctor that I follow. Let me see. So it's the dot butt butt dot doctor. So yeah, you're welcome to go and ask his advice on whether your hemorrhoids are something that or book an appointment with another doctor and ask them if your hemorrhoids are, in a situation where anal play is okay. Like, I've had 2 children, and I don't have hemorrhoids as such, but the skin is looser. And it's okay for me. Like, it doesn't cause me any issues. But also as well, like, I'm very, very mindful of making sure I've got enough lube, and that I'm very, very relaxed and aroused. And, one of the things that's important is when there's penetration, like, a really good way to support penetration is like bearing down. So like pushing as though you're going to do a poo. So as you bear down, what that does is it opens up the anus so that you can insert things more easily. And it's doing it really, really slowly, because you've got 2 sphincters. You've got the external one and the internal one. So going in really, really slowly, giving yourself time to get used to having something inside you, and you taking charge of the speed, and the pressure and all of those things, so that it doesn't feel uncomfortable and it's not painful.
Yeah, I think that's really, really solid information. That's good.
I don't know, did you realize that you'd made like that? Was it a double entendre, like with
I was like, wait.
you've got such a loose tongue there.
This is great.
So based on what I've covered more, is there anything that you would say, like, oh, okay, maybe that's when my partner and I have like not been, maybe we could try it this way, or like based on what I've gone through and explained, is there anything that you think, oh, okay, yeah, maybe that's why it's not really worked out for us?
Well, I can tell you, like, okay, so in terms of playing with his anus, right? Like a lot of times, like you were talking about the prostate and the finger and all that, that works magic. I can tell you from my own experience. I even made a podcast episode about this. Like every man I've ever been with, you know, if he's on top and we're having sex and it's amazing, I will do that, even if he's in the action, because I get pushback from some of my girlfriends. They're like, there's no way my husband's ever going to let me do that to him. And I'm like, yeah, but in the middle of sex, when you're in it and it's happening and you're just grabbing his butt, you know, like pushing it in towards you, whatever, like they don't really notice what's happening. Like that's, or maybe they're pretending, but I just feel like we're so in a moment that nobody really knows what's going on, but it just feels really good. And it does create these amazing orgasms. And my husband loves that. And so I've been sharing this tip with a lot of women. It's funny though, because I was watching a comedian the other night, and he was asking a guy in the audience, and he's like, are you married? And he goes, yeah. I'm like, do you love your wife? And the guy's like, yeah. And he's like, well, have you licked her butthole yet? And the guy was like, what? And so the guy's like, so you don't love her? Like, if you didn't do that, you don't love her. And it was really funny because, you know, I I'm all about like not anal is the other one. Like when you go down, you know, like oral sex, right? I'm
Yeah.
all about the oral sex for both. But when I think about mixing those, my brain goes a little like, I don't know, you know, so that could just definitely be my thing. But I'm like, I don't know how my mouth is gonna come near that area. Like just to be honest, or even my tongue. Like it just does not attract me in any way. Um, maybe I'm prude, maybe it's, you know, the mind blocks we're talking about, but I can get down with the finger things, but the tongue, maybe not so much. But yet maybe the bulb thing you were talking about, you know, that could maybe change that. I don't know.
Yeah, when the air is nice and clean. And another thing that you can do is as well, you can get what are called dental dams. So they are something that gets used and put over normally the vulva. So to prevent STI transmission. So you put over a vulva for oral sex, and you can use that, you know, instead and put it over the anus. Another thing that you can do is cut a condom up. So if you cut off like the tip of it and then cut it like lengthways up, and then you open it out, and then you can put it over the anus, and then your tongue really goes for it then, and then you don't have to worry about the bacteria and poo, because obviously that's the thing that you're concerned about. And you know, men have hairy buttholes as well, so it could be a sensory thing. So just yeah, I mean, women have hairy buttholes too, but you know, some women shave and wax them. So I just wanted to make that aware, because some women might be sat there going, but my butthole's hairy and I have to wax it. Is that normal? Yes, it's normal. So because I'm frequently asked if like I'm not sure if my vagina feels normal inside. I'm like, how does it feel? It feels all bumpy and wet. That sounds quite normal to me, you know. So yeah, so having, you know, it can be a sensory thing, you know, having your tongue on hair. So opening out a condom and putting that there instead. Yeah,
that's a good tip, actually. I like that. I haven't even thought about it. So that's great. Well, I love this. Is there anything else you think we need to cover or add, or you think we gave enough of information for you guys to go on and explore the back door?
I think that's a general roundup, but if there's anything I've missed, it will be in my very popular article, Anal Play and Introduction. So I think you put my website in the show notes anyway, don't you? So if people then go onto my website and put in the search engine, Anal Play and Introduction, you'll find all of the information around what nerves pass through around the anus, and for men the prostate, and then, you know, all the tips and tricks, you know, to really get you started.
I love this so much, and I love having you on. It's always so fun and enlightening. And I think a lot of people can learn a lot about this stuff. So it's great because, like I said, we like to talk about the taboo things and make them not taboo, which is what we're here to do. So okay, guys, if you're listening and you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, please reach out. You can reach out to Carla. She is amazing. And like she said, we're going to have all her info down there so you can find her and just shoot us a message. We would love to hear from you how, if you take these tips and go play, we would love to hear from you what comes up, what shows up for you. So thank you for listening to today's episode. If this was a contribution to you, please share, like, love, and comment. I would love to hear from you more, and make sure to follow us on Morph Healing. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and remember, you are here for a reason. I see you. Love, more.